Welcome back to another episode of Aliens on the Border. We've been out of the studio for a minute. We're testing out some new gear and shit. And we have a very special guest today. But as always, over to my right, which you'll see the camera switch over right now, we have Roger. What's up, baby?
Hey, what's going on? We're working with getting our quality, I guess, back up to par. Just because we started off at one area and then kind of went back down. We got a little lazy, but hey, we're all good today. We busted out the big guns.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm excited to be back in the seat today. We have a very interesting episode for y'all. I wanted to jump right into it. So I'm gonna please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you guys for having me, Roger, Josh. It's a pleasure to be here on Aliens on the Border podcast. My name is Juan Manuel Garza. Some of you may know me, some of you might not. I'm a mayoral candidate for the City of Laredo. I'm hoping to bring change to the city. I met Josh a while back, and it's a pleasure to be here. You know, I'm hoping to really have a dialogue that's important that hasn't been provided yet.
Right on, yeah, and I'm excited to have it. But before we do, guess who else is running for mayor? This theme song.
Aliens on the Border.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found.
Faster than light, spaceship of the future.
By direction of the President of the United States, stay in your home.
Is it human or inhuman? Earthly or unearthly?
Born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust, there is no word to describe them.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy come true.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension?
Is this the human race of the future?
Aliens on the Border.
Yo, is this the introduction you guys have every time? This is awesome.
Yeah, man.
This is crazy. Who made this?
This guy.
My brother and I got together. My brother's like a dope-ass music producer.
This is
And
insane. This is great.
Shout
We
out
jumped
Monge,
into the
dude.
studio. Yeah, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
okay.
no problem.
Bye.
You're
okay.
good. You're
Bet.
good. What did she say? Anything okay? Is the place haunted?
Okay.
Cool.
Bet.
I parked across the street. I hope that's okay. Yeah.
The event's not today, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome.
All right,
Cool.
bet.
Also, hey,
All right,
good
yeah,
seeing you,
yeah,
Anthony.
bro.
We'll stay in touch, bro.
That was our generous patron of
That's our
studio.
landlord.
Our landlord, essentially.
Rent is due.
That's right.
You don't forget.
Yes.
Let
Yeah,
the
man.
viewers know to patronize.
For real.
Yeah, man. So let's hop right into it. I, like many other Laredoans and many other people who are in the age range of 25 to 30 some, I do kind of feel like we grew up in this era where we weren't really like super politically aware with anything. Really wasn't until there was some cataclysmic events that happened a couple of years back.
What are you talking about? Look, bro.
Where everybody kind of started getting politically aware, and of course, I'm talking about the murder of George Floyd. And
I was like, you can name a number of things in the
Yeah, I
past
was
couple
gonna
of
say.
years.
I was like, when was
Yeah,
the first time you guys voted? I became, a lot more politically invested the first time I ever voted, which was when I was 19. Yeah, 19 years old.
how old are you now?
26.
Okay.
26. So the first time I ever voted, I was 19. It was the 2016 election between Hillary Clinton.
If you want
Donald J.
Johnny
Trump.
T.
If you want to just jump off and tell us who you voted for and start talking about your platform,
Nah, look,
we-
you don't have to
Alright,
reveal
let's not
that
get
type of
into
all
conversation.
right, cool.
You can say it off the record if you want. It
I
doesn't matter to me.
if you want, I came prepped for this to be a very open dialogue and a very honest dialogue, as you know, and we're telling you now, we don't edit these, so we roll it like if we were doing it live, and we just go. There's maybe mild edits here and there whenever we have a technical issue, but for the most part, we don't.
We'll stop rolling. Awesome.
Yeah, we just keep it going. So the first thing, like, I wanted to continue saying, I do feel like there has been always like a politically in a political, like, I guess, awakening over the last couple of years, and I did want to say in general, like, myself as a person, I did start getting into politics around the same time. It was like 2016, actually. Just because I thought that was a really fucking important election. Oh, I'm gonna cuss. By the way,
entire country knew.
Everybody knows.
I cuss.
Audience knows.
I cuss.
Real
This is
quick, let me
great,
interrupt. Our homeboy Anthony is hooking you up with one of these.
Awesome. Hey, shout out Anthony. Thank you.
Dude, shout out to Gaiocho Hype and Hobbies, dude.
Awesome.
If you guys don't already know, then you should know.
Appreciate it, man. Look at this.
Dope shit.
So yeah, man. I do think, and yeah, if anybody thought that this was going to be a very professional, like we've never claimed to be professionals.
Surprise.
But I do think that we do a good job at like opening up conversation for at least for it to be at least digestible to a lot of folks that are in our like age range, right? So
we got to start with some basic things, right? 9/11 inside job. Or
No,
not? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I do. Today, Josh is right behind the producer's camera, and he is going to be helping us today.
I'm pushing buttons over
with
here.
pushing buttons. But yeah. So right off the bat, I'm going to say I feel like a lot of people understand this, but maybe it's something that you'd better describe yourself as like starting to get into your platform and stuff. But isn't the role of mayor largely a like decorative position?
That was one of the first questions
like,
that I wanted to throw out there.
Isn't it more like a ceremonial thing?
Unfortunately, in this city, it's been cut down to that because of, pre-existing issues that date back all the way back to the Patron system that they had.
Sure.
And because of that, unfortunately, this position doesn't have the influence and the position it once had. And the people cut it down to, hey, it's a tiebreaker. Not necessarily. I think this position is highly influential, and it is because that the reason that I decided to run for it is because, I need to propose ideas, and I hope that the city council, which do hold the majority in power when they come together,
which is crazy.
Yeah. There are eight councilmen and myself, and hopefully I introduce all these proposals and they're receptive to it and, bring Laredo in the right direction. But to answer your question, yes, some people bring it down and say, hey, the mayor is nothing more than a ribbon cutter or nothing more than a ceremonial, like just a title. And I don't see it that way. No, I personally see it whether you're there to serve and you're there to help the community. And I think that's specifically, the other city councilmen, they're there to represent each independent district,
Yeah.
But for the mayor, it's the unity of it all. And I think that's where, you have to align yourself and say, hey, we have these larger issues at hand. Let's tackle them one by one. And the city councilman will just bring up, hey, we have this issue in my district, and that's it. That's as far as it ends.
So I think in general right now, in terms of like our political landscape here in Laredo, I feel like it's just general disarray. I do feel like
I agree.
every year, if not every couple months, we hear about something new happening, whether it was the city manager being fired, some, cheeseman about like, the reasons behind that, how they had, a payoff, how our city lost $1 million through a phishing scam, which I don't believe, by the way. I'm going to just flat out say that. Right. But these are all things that I feel right now, and I'm not going to softball this to you, but I feel like right now, these are all things that need to be addressed by somebody who, if they are going to make that mayoral role a leadership role or something of like more value and presence, we need somebody who is a strong leader.
Yes.
Why is that you?
Because I see the other candidates and I see how they're very repetitive in every conversation. They kind of have the same opening, the same closing, and the same, response when they're confronted.
Give us an example of that. What would be your cookie cutter response, and then what's yours?
Yeah, for me, it's I as you ask me the issue, I try to give you the best possible solution that I can come up with. And I'm not afraid to tell you I don't have the answer right now, but I can get together with people that do know more than me, and I'm willing to accept that. and I'm willing to say, hey, I'm going to reach out to these people and I'm going to work with them so we can get the best possible solution to this pressing issue, whatever it might be. But with the other candidates, I feel, I'll give you an example. They have the exact same opening that they'll say, you need someone that's going to hit the ground running. You don't want to take a chance with this guy. Look at what I've done, and I have the best experience. But I'm in awe, in complete utter awe, how, you can claim that when a lot of the projects that you're taking credit for weren't even your projects to begin with. There were, years in development before you even got into office, and you're taking full credit for that, and because it happened during your time. But yeah, that to reiterate, there's so many. I'm not afraid to say that I need the people.
Not afraid to be real.
Yeah, not afraid to say, to work with the people and be, a strong leader in the sense that I know, hey, you guys need this at hand. And, I think I'm the first mayoral candidate that's willing to say, I'm going to appoint someone, the day-to-day issues, like a mother has a son in jail that she wants to get in contact with, and at Webb County, I'm just giving you a random example. I'm not, no one in particular, but she wants, to be heard by the mayor. And unfortunately, these other guys don't have that presence there. And I feel like that's very important, to have a physical presence in the community. And that's why I've been trying to show up to every event. Right now, I'm making an exception that, I wanted to go to every city event that's happening from now all the way until election. But I think this dialogue is extremely important, and this is why I decided to be here. And thanks once again to you guys for having me. But other candidates will show up, take a picture, and leave. And, as a mayor, you can't do that. You have to have a presence and ask people, how can we be better? What can I do to serve you? And I feel like that's something that's lacked for years before I came into office, or before I become elected into office.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah. Hey, you got to manifest it, bro. And because of this, we're in the state that we're in, because we don't listen to what the community needs. It's kind of just listening to best interest. And you're heavily influenced in the sense that someone tells you, I want a big company to come to Laredo. I would love to Amazon to be here. I would love Walmart to be here as a distribution center. Some large company that can provide lots of jobs, just one. I'll take great pride in that if I become elected. But other people, other candidates, I can say this with great certainty that if they become elected, they're not going to fight for that. If they ask and propose that and they tell them no, they're going to be like, okay, I guess, wait 4 years. Okay, we'll wait 4 years. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, push and be, hey, what can we do to get that to happen now? Not 4 years down the line.
Facts. I get that, and I respect that. And going back to the first question that we threw in, which was is it more of a ceremonial title and whatnot? I'll be completely frank. I'm not too familiar with how the structure works in terms of how the power is divided, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that the actual powers vested to the mayor are limited, right? Mm-hmm. But
to give you an example, I could propose something. Let's say, let's talk about the ethylene oxide tax that I've come up with.
Okay.
And I decided, if these people, if we can't find a way to shut them down long term, I have a short-term solution that if you're going to pollute the city, at least, you're going to have to pay for it. You can't do it for free. So I spoke about it with several constituents, and they said you could propose that to city council, but will they go through with it? And that kind of is that shift of responsibility. My hope is that they do approve that and say, you know what, Juan Manuel Garza has a point. This is an issue that we need to take action with, and we're going to approve it. But just the same way, they can disapprove it. And unfortunately, I am a one-man team on it. It's like not saying I don't want to make like for it to sound like an opposition, but it's kind of like a 1 person and then an 8-person team,
I get you. And I see how that can be beneficial in a certain sense still, to where like if the person in the mayor's chair, if you will, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, has enough like social capital, then that may apply pressure from the constituency of like each of the councilmen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's ceremonial in terms of like maybe what's written down in the charter that gives it its vested powers or lack thereof. But if you use it properly, I guess you can apply like social pressure if the candidate itself or the mayor themselves has like that social capital, which is a lot more important nowadays, I think.
Yes, it definitely is because seeing back, I've seen videos of Mayor Pete Sainz, and I've seen videos of Mayor Raul Salinas back in the day that I grew up, looking at. I noticed, the difference of behavior, the difference of presence and everything. Raul Salinas specifically, anywhere that I went, I noticed this man is a celebrity. Like, he shakes hands with everybody, and he's so confident with himself and everything. And from what I've heard, I've never met Pete Sainz in person, but I've heard, he started with a great ambition to do great for the city. But, after years of attempting, he's kind of like, you know what? Nothing's going to change. You kind of fall victim to the game, I feel. And Raul Salinas, I know he pushed certain projects, that were he felt were necessary. Like the water issue apparently like dates back all the way back then. I didn't know. I mean, I was in elementary, but
You're out here drinking polluted ass water since fucking 1993.
Yeah, but I believe it was 2005, 2006. In one of the city council meetings, he proposed that we started bringing in water from Carrizo, like that the river wasn't going to be enough of a source, and they shut him down. And you could see that he got heated and said, like we need to start pushing towards that. But because of that system, nothing got done.
There's a lot of factors, that go into the water thing in terms of like where we source our water from. But most of our water comes from aquifers, which are like underwater deposits from groundwater. That's where a majority of our water comes from. And we're drying up real quick, at least according to my TAMU geology professor. But yeah, I forget his name, man.
Is it the one with the long beard?
Yes,
yeah, I figured.
So yeah, I wanted to get into the water issue, but that was a little further down. Yeah, I do think that I'm curious where you stand on things that are supposed to be like beneficial for the city. I feel like there's a very big little city attitude in an area that's supposed to be a big city. I think we approach a lot of things like a little city, and one of the things that we had rallied for about 2 years ago was to get a budget for art. And that was because we have a severe lack of public art. I believe it's been getting better over the last couple of years, but we severely lack it in all districts. There's a number of things that you could propose for the sake of like enriching the area and the peoples. There is
just look at that building right there. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the one that's in front of the movie theater plaza in downtown was meant to be like a lot more traction, and I remember being there as a kid. It was not like a daycare, but my mom kind of put me there as a summer program. You
talking about Laredo Center of the Arts?
Yeah, Laredo Center of the Arts. Yeah. And do you feel like it's been underused?
As of late, no.
It's been.
I feel like there's been quite a few.
Uptick of it being used,
definitely.
sure.
Like the Laredo Film Society, I believe, operates there. I went to the event that they had. I forgot what film it was that they showed there, but I feel it's not as big as I would like it for it to be. You know what I'm saying? That.
Well, I'm not saying specifically like gallery space. I think we do have quite a bit of that that's underutilized already. I'm seeing more of there's a study that we referenced. I think it came out of Abilene. Okay. Abilene, which I'm not sure if you guys know, Abilene has one of the biggest public art budgets in Texas, and they put forth their public arts program because they wanted to see what it would do to neighborhood crime specifically. And so what they did is they started public art projects, everything from graffiti parks to art for the public that they would do in terms of like events where it was like, oh, come out here, get a canvas, get a spray paint bottle, like do something. Let's create something together. And all these things what they saw immediately actually was something like I think it was like a 24% like decrease in crime, and they started seeing increases in overall performance in education and stuff. And it was like a study done over the span of like 2 years. And as you can tell, like those things are very influential to the culture here. I think there is we were on the precipice of having this really awesome like renaissance of the
movement. Yeah, I felt it. And I feel like that traction is,
slowly coming back.
It's slowly coming back. I think it did get stunted by the pandemic. That's
we were definitely on a movement. Yeah. I can agree with you there. And going back to it, it's great. I feel like we need more of that type of funding. That way our kids have different distractions. I'm very big on the youth specifically. I feel the youth is our future. So anything that helps like with programs as far as, helping them have a better path. Another thing that I've thought about is like, hey, how about we focus on summer programs that give life skills, like that instead of just the Parks and Recreation Center. Sorry. Apart from that, how about we focus on, having other types of life skills that we can teach them. Like I chose it as an elective, but when I was in middle school, I learned a little bit of cooking. I learned how to make a pizza. It's not much, but it was something. And, the city could be doing a lot more to providing programs that educate and, and as far as all this goes, like with the movement that we had, the Renaissance, that we're on the verge of a Renaissance, I feel like you're very on point with that. And I really, for one, enjoyed it because, what we have in Golondrinas is, for an example, some people might have thought that couldn't work here in Laredo, but look at it, like it's doing great. And I'm happy that it's in the location where it is. I would have loved, instead of necessarily sticking other offices like around the entire park, for it to be like, food outside activities type of
like a whole setup in that sense.
Yeah, and
right.
But it's kind of, I think a big issue here in Laredo is when it comes down to planning. I feel like, look at the downtown area as well.
We actually we are one of the only cities that has an art budget with no master plan for art. I'm not sure if you know that. It's
I did not.
all this stuff.
The amount with the art budget.
I think we structure, and again, I'm not a professional. I've only know what I've worked on, right? But from my understanding, we have a 1.5% of every capital investment project, which means any capital bond, which means like if the city does something for the sake of the city, let's say they build a parking garage, right? 1% of whatever they spend on that has to be allocated for public arts.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think actually right now, if I'm not mistaken,
there's funding for it.
There is funding that we've been sitting on. I'm not sure. This is again pure conjecture at this point, right? But I believe Councilwoman Cigarroa has a plan in place with Able City to see if they can hire somebody to be a city planner. For the sake of creating a master plan.
Master plan for the
art plan, or just a general. I think we had like a beautification plan.
Yeah, it's with the Laredo keep Laredo beautiful, and then I had a friend that worked at the Ghost Gus.
Yeah, we know Gus,
and he worked on what is North Central, and
right.
We could be expanding on that. Like, I think he did a great job.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's I'm really impressed.
Yeah, we
I
know
used to
quite
work
a
with
few of the artists that actually contributed to that. And that's the next thing is that I feel like we're doing a good job right now, at the very least, in terms of enriching that a little bit. At least my point is that the independent bodies that are here that are contributing to art and to its growth are not anywhere at all like in the city's like radar in terms of what they need to be supporting or promoting. And I kind of feel like there's a lack of, with the exception of Councilwoman Cigarroa, there's a lack of people who would advocate for the arts. So I did want to bring that up because that was one kind of question that alluded to or a question that alluded to the arts. This next question is from another one of the viewers, and actually a frequent guest on Aliens on the Border. Jeff asks, we have the first part's a statement, but it says Laredo has the worst parks. I think he said in the state.
Absolutely, I agree. I've been to many parks and with the exception of North Central Park and maybe Independence Hill Park.
Well, I mean, even North Central isn't like.
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, but it had. Like how they always say, potential.
For sure.
That is definitely there. It's not been executed well, but
the whole area in the middle, is it still? I haven't been in a while, right? But is the area in the middle still like a sewer or like?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a creek.
It's supposed to be a creek,
but it's not a proper creek. Also, I mean, at least that
I was there like a couple of days ago, and if you start the trail by the pavilion and you go off like towards the back, it go over that little bridge that the creek runs under.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was like super flooded. I was like, oh shit, it's been raining. When? But it was just like full of water and it was kind of stank.
Yeah, it stinks really, really bad around that area. The question from Jeff actually goes, why does Laredo have the worst city parks compared to almost every other city?
Facts.
Okay.
Even the ghetto ass parks in San Antonio are like better. No, on some real.
That's
like
true.
I think you can narrow it down to care and and maintenance. Unfortunately, I've been in North Central Park at late hours, and I've seen it myself that I don't feel safe. And I was like, if I'm a man, 26-year-old, 6'3", 220 pounds, and I don't feel safe
with a 74-inch reach.
Yeah,
just fucking listen to yourself like an MMA fighter and shit.
Yeah, I was like, is he reading his Tinder bio? 100%, 100%
for real, dude.
No, but in all seriousness, if I personally don't feel safe there, I mean, how can you expect anyone else to be out there at 5 a.m, late at night? It doesn't matter. Like, you're supposed to try to keep these people safe. There's no lights.
It's very fucking dim. That's true. That's true.
Even like the lights that they do have, they're not these type of lights. They're very extremely dim lights.
Yeah. Give me some studio lighting as I'm running through for the selfies.
100%.
I gotta have good selfies.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Mines Road my entire life. Charles McNo Park, I was always there. And I saw how easy it was to have access to the river, but
that's the park behind Washington
Middle School. Okay, yeah, that's right. And years later, I was already an adult, but someone, I don't know if he murdered them there or how it happened, but it wasn't far from that area.
The guy, right?
Yeah.
Or the
guy,
the one that
talking like you guys
that girl that disappeared downtown. That one, is that what you're talking about or no?
No. There's one also with his wife and son.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it was a Border Patrol agent.
Another
issue that we could get into, because the parks clearly are not safe here. I can get into another conversation that behind Haynes Park, I personally saw that's the girl, and I saw her, Memorial, and I didn't know that there was another one like that happened a couple months after that. It was a 6-year-old boy that they still don't know who murdered him, and the body was just found there.
Yeah, that's one of the unsafest areas, like the Chacon Trail.
Which one's this?
Trail, that's right.
That's the Chacon Trail that it leads you to the back.
I know the Chacon Trail. What's Haynes?
Haynes is the
Clark. It's in Clark.
The Clark Rec Center. That's like
center,
at the end of the trail, pretty
much.
much.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So behind the rec center,
practically,
behind the rec center, like
I've heard
that patch of the Chacon Trail.
Horror stories about that place. Yeah. I've heard
I
one
saw
of our
memorial
mutual
for both of them. It's sad.
One of our mutual friends talked about how she was groped in that area.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't remember this.
Yeah, if I tell you the name, you'll know, but I don't want to put it on blast.
Tell me off air.
Yeah, I'll tell you off air.
Okay, because now I'm curious. What the fuck?
And I mean, what is there is to say? Like, you guys
It's
wanted to know, like,
No, I mean-
why are we the worst parks? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm giving you guys
Murder.
a pretty
That's
clear
why.
answer here. Like, clearly,
That's-
it's unsafe for people to even be out in
Do
the
you
park.
Do you think that's like a factor that's like just baked into being a border town because of the level?
No. I mean, just look at McAllen, look at El Paso, look at San Diego, look at all these other places. They don't, I don't think, suffer from these same issues. And
I would say El Paso probably.
Yeah, El Paso definitely.
But McAllen maybe
the
not.
parks themselves. Are we like
well,
in general, 'cause,
secluding?
like Ciudad Juarez. is,
yeah,
like,
well,
right fucking
okay,
there.
yes.
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
right
when
next
you're,
to
when
Juarez, dude. There's people who wake up, they have bullet holes in their houses, bro. Like, it's not. That's a whole thing that happens there. Like, it's. But I don't think it's like a domestic issue that they're having, like, issues there, like, locally. I don't feel. I feel over there, at least from the couple of things that we're looking, like, a lot of people say that it's generally unsafe, and they feel unsafe because of the border. But I think down here, that's the distinction. Like, I don't necessarily feel unsafe because of the border, and I know people in the valley don't
a lot
either.
of people try to point fingers and say, you know what, it's the fact that we don't have a wall. No, like,
We need a 30-foot wall.
yeah, and to those people, I'll tell them the truth.
Yo, there was
that's not the issue. Like, border security is important. Don't get me wrong. But
this is my whole ass job, dude. We can talk about this for
days.
hours.
Yeah.
I
you could
this
get deep
is
into it.
We could, but I mean, for the sake of time and for the sake of, like, not
Having,
taking up 45 minutes on just talking about border stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is an enforcement issue here. Actually, that leads to my next question. I wanted to talk and just kind of loop this back to the beginning. A lot of the political awakening happened around that time that we talked about the George Floyd thing. We had a border organization that actually kind of led those marches, and we actually had at some point some representatives from that organization. But they kind of just they kind of did a little split and started doing their own things. But that's neither here nor there. They did start this, like, big political awakening, I think, in terms of organization. It had a lot to do with gun violence and police violence. I was on the boat, and I feel like with outrage that everybody was kind of feeling at the time. I don't know if I was as extreme as, like, defund the police or anything like that. But I do feel like there was a big restructuring issue that needed to happen, and it will a lot of it
comes down. I think I'm gonna insert something there. I think accountability, and I feel we've kind of got that a little bit with the
Do you
George
think so?
Floyd.
Yeah.
I mean,
how so?
You had the officer that, whether it was accidental or on purpose.
I don't
want
to talk about situational, like, in terms of that. I'm saying, like, here, let's talk a little more relevant in terms of Laredo.
Okay.
Let's say, okay, so just from the research that was done about 2 years ago, Laredo has a budget that's, like, supposed to be something like 4 times the budget that we have for. Has a police budget that's about 4 times, and maybe that number's wrong. It might be higher, actually. I want to say it was like 4 to 7 times the 4 to 7 times the amount of the education budget that we had.
Okay.
And so the issue that we're having with that is that I don't want there to be, like, any sort of mistaken message here, but we have a tank. Did you know this? We have 2 tanks.
I didn't know that.
They're APC vehicles. Do you know when they get used?
I don't think.
I'll give you,
maybe, like, just for the show of it. Like,
parades, bro.
Yeah,
Parades.
I figured it was.
They're only ever mobilized for parades. At least, thankfully, right? We haven't needed it for any other reason.
For any other reason.
But yeah, we put a lot of money into enforcement here, and a lot of money into, like, getting the whole, like, I guess, illusion of safety. I was on a sorry.
But it's great. It's great that we talk about this because I'm very big on, instead of focusing so much on I feel education is going to be a main priority for me because here in Laredo, both primary and secondary education, is underserved, to be honest. I feel we live in the border, and it's kind of expected from a lot of people to be bilingual. But, people here, it's kind of neither here nor there. Like, we need to find stability when it comes to our education and to improve on it dramatically. I feel,
what do you feel is lacking?
I feel secondary education here is strongly lacking.
What does that mean though? What's that?
Mean?
Are we lacking teachers? Are we lacking curriculum? Like
we're a little bit of everything. Yeah, curriculum specifically. Here, I think teachers should be the pay is very low when you compare it to other. Might not be the best. But hold on, before I get into that, I feel secondary education, like the curriculums, we need to improve on our spectrum of degrees that are offered, because people always say that people leave Laredo because there's nothing good here, but it starts at that level, at the educational level, that have the best education so people don't look for other opportunities and then just never come back, and that's kind of like how you start like holding down the line.
Why do you feel like it starts like that? Why do you feel like it starts at education? I would say that it's more the lack of jobs here.
Yes, and that's exactly. I believe they go hand in hand. I believe if you have the education here, you open the opportunity for people to want to come set up shop and operate. Let's talk about, let's say if you had a specialty here for a special type of therapy. I'm not going to choose a specific one. But having that degree here and having, let's say, a graduating class of maybe 300, 400 students with that would definitely incentivize Laredo for these, businesses to operate here and provide them rather than for them to be like, hey, come to San Antonio, because in that case, it would take the person out of Laredo, And if they come here, it would serve it would serve our educational system, it would serve our community, and it would serve our economic level. I don't know if I said that as well, that like at all levels, it would serve us and it would benefit us of anything. And you want to bring jobs to Laredo, people want higher wages here in Laredo, and I heard Dr. Trevino, every single debate that we had, or forum, whatever you want to call it, every time said, it starts with paying our nurses higher. It starts with like our doctors and everything. And no, you can't do that without, fixing everything around it. You get what I'm saying? Like, you want to hire the pay for a nurse here in Laredo, you have to hire the pay for logistics. You have to hire the pay for all around, because if you think about it, it all comes hand in hand. Like all these people, they start getting better jobs. I won't go too far. I'll use myself for an example. If I was offered a job here in Laredo for $15 an hour, and I was offered a job in Iowa for like $7 more, I'm gonna take that job, because those $7 are gonna have a great impact, towards myself and how I develop myself as an adult. But if you give that competition here in Laredo, and let's say you reverse the roles and you give them a lot more competition, well, then they're like, you know what? I can't be paying my employees $10 an hour, $7 an hour. I need to start paying them higher, because everyone else is paying higher. So I have to, step up to play. And which is what happened with COVID. Just look at that. A lot of people went unemployed, and businesses started to really value their employees, practically what they never did before. And you heard of all these jobs that were paying, minimum wage. I love how you both are looking at the lights. and that, because of that,
I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. It's so distracting.
Yeah.
Right, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry,
yeah,
I didn't mean
no worries. And from that, Sorry, I lost the train of thought.
Yeah,
I
me
had
too.
something going on.
Me too.
but
It's
I-
okay.
I
Well,
was
we can
ramping up.
edit that. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, no, definitely. So you're talking about just in general, like raising the bar, raising the ceiling for pay.
Yes,
like,
and I remember what I was talking about. The COVID. That COVID showed
yeah,
that
right.
that people weren't willing to work. If I can go unemployed and make more money or almost as much money as I was making in my job, then how much is my work worth? And people started valuing themselves a little higher, and they didn't choose to go back to work the first opportunity they got.
I would say I agree. I do want to say that it is. He's not even here moving anything, dude. Oh, I guess he's on the other side.
Yeah, he's probably on the other side. I doubt that.
All right. Well, okay. All right. Sorry about that. Just leave it off like that, dude. Sorry about that. I agree. I would say though that like there is there isn't necessarily an incentive for a lot of people to come back. I don't think it's as simple as like raising the pay. I do think there's a huge need in like the different infrastructure, not even just infrastructure. I do
100%. Like you need to change the whole game out here. You need to start leveling up the competition because look at San Antonio. Like they're a much better off city, but why? I mean, there's much better opportunity out there. So you need to start providing these citizens with better opportunity for them to want to start coming to Laredo.
I was gonna say that I do kind of feel like it's not necessarily just like a corporate job or a plan that needs to be set for these huge companies to come to Laredo. I do feel like there needs to be, if not like a huge focus on like the economy and the stuff that we have already got in place here. I think there needs to be a focus on kind of the expansion of like the culture. I feel like there's a big part of Laredo that shines, that is a place like everybody says the same shit.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like mad, but everybody says, oh, Laredo's like a place unlike any other. I'm like, well, yeah, because it's not up to speed with a lot of the other places. I like the little city feeling. I love this place. I grew up here. I love the people here. I don't feel like we can like say that with pride all that often. I feel like there's a lot of stuff wrong with not just our city, our local government, but like the infrastructure, everything. We have caca water. We have we have an issue with enforcement. We have an issue with the militarization of the border. Like there's these talks. There's actually a few things that I wanted to get into, but one of them is a talk about the contracts in Laredo have been canceled. People who were saying build the wall, that was going to happen, that Mexico was going to pay for it. None of it ever happened. Not even, I think it was like maybe like 20 miles that got built or something like that, and then got deconstructed because the contract was canceled. I may be mistaken about that though.
Yeah.
But now there's a lot of talk about the current administration and the way that like Abbott is using the Operation Lone Star thing to criminalize people that are here on the border. But they're using a different kind of wall. There's now talks about a cyber wall, right? Which is their idea is to have an equally as like militarized and enforced or patrolled border, but using tech and all sorts of like tech that they're planning. They're saying everything from sensors that are triggered to like to constant patrol from drones. They're using a couple of other things that we've talked about here before, but they're using things that are like actually in this for the sake of like privacy violations that are happening. What do you say to the I guess the people who are, one, concerned about border security, and two, that are concerned about over militarization of the area?
Okay. Well, first off, how do you feel about the cyber wall that it is? Do you feel our safety comes at a price, or do you feel that that's just an over invasion of privacy, and we should, as citizens, have the right to
I hold a very strong opinion about immigration stuff and in general Department of Homeland for reasons that I won't get into here, but it's a more personal thing that we've talked about on the podcast before. But it's also part of the work that I've been doing for the last 3 years.
Gotcha.
But I feel like we've really gone off the deep end with like the paranoia and the xenophobia that's happened since. I'm not even going to say since Trump. This has been present since way before.
Yeah, because I mean, I know the wall was even like apparently proposed way back before
it was,
that.
by Bush. It started, and this is just a quick history lesson for everybody who's watching, not just not just for you or for you, Josh, but it started off with it being a security issue. Department of Homeland was established because they said that there wasn't enough intergovernmental speak. All the things that happened in 9/11 supposedly should have been prevented because they had.
I mean, back then we didn't have the TSA and everything.
Well,
right?
so but different governmental agencies all had all had the pieces of the puzzle that they needed. They all bought their tickets with the same credit card. They all had registered into the same flying areas. Like they all had something that was like, okay, this
very
is going
easily traceable.
Yeah, very easily traceable, and there was a lot of like radars, like they were on other people's radars. The thing is, though, if I have a piece of information, I'm like, this is weird, and then you have an equally weird piece of information, and if we don't communicate that to each other and put it together and say, hey, you know what, this is something happening, then you have failed your overall objective to keep people safe, right? Or at least to invade people's privacy for the sake of safety.
I mean, that which is why the NSA was created in itself.
DHS was a combination of all. Homeland was a combination of all of these intergovernmental agencies. The TSA was formed. What was it? The enforcement part of Border Patrol, which is ICE, was formed. All of these different agencies for the sake of national security. That started that way. And then quickly, it was for the sake of preventing terrorists. You know how many terrorists have been prevented by DHS? Domestic, terms of not domestic. Sorry, how many terrorists we've apprehended at borders?
I'm not familiar with the numbers. No.
0. We haven't had any apprehensions at borders. There might have been, I think, 1 or 2 things that supposedly they say were apprehensions with a terror plot, but all of our terrorist attacks, I think, since then have been domestic. And
the ones that were stopped were like funded by the FBI and a bunch of other things.
Okay,
that's facts. Like that's super
Josh.
facts.
Okay, wait. I mean, and so I feel like we really need to let loose on for the sake of like.
Yeah, but you can't just ignore the fact that we have all this area that like there is I've seen it myself personally, and there is illegal activity going on, and I'm not saying build the wall, and I'm not saying it's okay for cyber wall, whatever you want to call it, but that first of all, that kind of goes way above my pay grade because that's the federal level.
That's fair, but I feel like for the sake of being like somebody influential here.
Yeah, as a diplomat, I can definitely say, I'm for border security, and I am for like supporting Border Patrol agents, custom agents, CBP agents, and giving them the tools to do their job. And something in particular that I would want to do under my administration is work at the federal level, and see what kind of funding we could do as far as lighting goes to see the river late at night.
I feel like that's super unnecessary. And you have any idea how many ecosystems you'd probably disturb with like plant life or animal life that needs.
I think Border Patrol and CBP have enough with like the fucking night vision and infrared.
Yeah.
Do you guys really feel so? Because I mean,
100%. So look,
like, I mean, do you think the presence there, like the border is pretty big? Like it's what is it, like a 12 to 16 mile radius that we have just around like the city of Laredo.
I don't know the exact.
I don't know the exact.
I would assume that that's probably the case because like
I feel like it's probably more. I feel that's a low, but I mean,
like if it stretches literally all the way to like fucking.
Yeah, I'm just saying what's in city limits.
Right. Like
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question, but it does sound.
It sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
If
you would say you could get up from Mines all the way down to
Rio Bravo, essentially.
Yeah, almost Rio Bravo or LC South, right?
But I don't think there's near enough Border Patrol agents to cover the amount of land that we have.
This is where we have the split, man.
Okay,
I hear this. I mean,
we hit
personally,
that. We hit that.
I think
that
so.
Point.
So let me get to what I wanted to get to. So you talked a lot about the Patron system, right? You talked a lot about like, this is before our talk, right? But before we were rolling. One of the things that I feel is that kind of like our current Patron system is the enforcement and the jailing, the incarceration system that we've got.
Got you. So like a systematic.
Let me finish this. Let me pose it, and then so. We have, and yeah, it is a system, but we do have an issue with the prison industrial complex here. I feel like maybe this is not something that we're super aware of, but just a quick, like, just to put it in perspective, right? Let's say a place like, I don't know, New York, right? New York has, I don't even know what the population is up there, but they have some ridiculous population of people, millions of people, right? And I think it's what 2.5. I don't even know what
it's probably more. Houston is 6.5.
Oh no shit.
Jeez.
Okay, so all right, they have a ridiculous amount of people in that area, and they're and even other, like, maybe that's a bad example. Let's say another state that borders something. It doesn't matter. Look, my
Arizona,
point is,
I
in terms of jails, those areas have none. They don't have a single immigration facility or jailing facility in that area. In Laredo, we have 3. We have 3 facilities.
So when you're going to Zapata is one of them, right? I don't know which.
One of them made a sound. One of them chimed.
I don't know which other 2 are, but yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty complex issue that you get into right there. You know, we're well versed and well educated with it because I mean you have experience in it.
But I mean I think just like what you do with that information, man. Like I feel like if you hear, so we make a ridiculous amount of money off of people that are in, and that's all taxpayer stuff, right? Or governmental bonds. Have you taken any sort of campaign donation from any sources like that?
No,
to say that
those type of sources. No.
I was just saying. So our congressman, no secret there, funded by the Geo Group. He has an investment in that because his family. He's got like the Sheriff Martin Cuellar, right? He's also got a kind of a foot in the door for reasons of enforcement or reasons of incarceration. They handle things like money. They handle incarceration. They don't treat them like people. Those are dollar signs. Mm-hmm. To them, it's like, oh, hey, this person is worth, I think it's like $42 a day.
Yeah, it's like the new, like, I don't want to call it like the new slaves, but it's definitely not.
I would say like there's
slave labor and shit like that.
There's talk about leasing
I mean
people.
everything that you're saying, I've seen it before and I've seen reports on it and everything, and it's a fucked up system when you put it into that. But this, like I said, this kind of goes way above anything.
Well, I think it's still
try to talk into the mic, just so
I think it's still.
No, it's okay.
I think it's still important and relevant to understand like a platform in terms of that. That's what I wanted to just get into. Like, what are the issues then that you want to focus that are like on your pay grade, so to speak?
Of my pay grade, more than anything, focus on the issues that are here on the ground right now, like our streets are all fucked up. Let's be real. Like they're not well paved, you know, like you drive around and your car's shaking all over left and right from the
Potholes
pavement,
and whatnot.
potholes and streets. But apart from that, I mean, just look at the water issue that is, you know, years in the making, that why it's the way it is. And it's, who knows if it's a multi-million project or even in the billions. Like it's not going to be easy to fix. And if it's not me, you know, I'm going to do my best to try to take that to do something about it. But trust me,
Why you
like
think it
we have
hasn't
this
been done?
conversation 8 years from now and it's someone else that's mayor, there's not going to be, the water issue is not going to be resolved. I'll tell you that.
Why do you feel like it's something that you can take on that somebody else hasn't tried to take on themselves?
Because I feel, you know, I'm willing to do something, even though I know that like maybe our budget can't handle it right now. I'll do my best to like talk to Congress, talk to the state, talk to anyone that, hey, we have a dire issue as a city. You know, what can you do to help us? And I feel like that's something that the competition might not take that approach. They're just gonna, you know, be elected and say, yeah, well, we gotta handle this issue, but they're not gonna do anything about it. And
They won't push or shove to like
exactly push or shove. And you know, even if it's a
rock the
little bit
system.
that I get done, I want to say, hey, I did my best, and this is as much as I could get done, but I tried my best to get this done. And
I want to go back for a second to the whole situation that you were talking about with border security and everything.
Yeah.
Might a way to alleviate some of that pressure would be to maybe work on like a city ordinance that may legalize marijuana, and then we can take away like a lot of like that income that, you know, is
done
otherwise
is
illegal and
yeah.
funding, you know,
Yeah.
the
Man,
cartel and
I
whatnot.
feel like, do you have any idea how many or like what the percentage is of like smuggling?
Yeah, like I'm assuming most of it is probably like harder drugs, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's not the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that like the amount of people that are caught at the border, do you know like the percentage of how many of them are like smugglers?
No, I don't.
It's a very minuscule percentage.
That's not what I'm getting at though.
There's-
Like
I don't think. Well, I mean, I don't feel like you'd be actually making an impact with anything with marijuana sales. Not that I'm saying I'm against it. I'm 100% like
I'm
legalize
looking
it,
at it
but-
from the perspective of like organized crime, not necessarily from like the influx of a lot of immigrants and whatnot.
So you're saying
'Cause I
you want to
think-
bankrupt the cartels? Is that what you're trying to say? Or
I mean, at least take away some sort of like income,
Bankroll?
right? Yeah.
okay, well,
Like, because then that also enriches the city in a different way.
didn't they
unique way.
decriminalize weed in Mexico?
Across the state. I don't know.
I don't know about in Mexico.
I'm pretty sure they did. They had a whole celebration about it. I saw some like report about something. I'm pretty sure they decriminalized it. I'm not sure about fully legalized, but there's talks now about the Biden administration wanting to go back and
Legalize crack? I'm kidding.
Such
Hunter
a
Biden
bad
joke.
They want to go back and they want to expunge like any and all like
I did
charges
see that.
for
I did
Yeah,
see that
possession.
for possession. Yeah,
Yeah.
From
I've heard about
Biden,
that.
right? Yeah,
Mhm.
I did see that.
Shout out to Biden
Yeah.
getting.
Do you think that's like
So-
reparations?
Getting his-
Because wasn't his like when he
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
right?
you're trying to say
Yeah.
that they were all about doing the enforcement and real big crackdown on weed. Yes. Yeah, he's definitely getting in his midterms points right now. And it's kind of shitty that we have to kind of, lean on that for it to be. I feel like I heard another one of these things beep right now.
Well, this one's the only one that's running. So
and
it's
I
running.
feel like it's kind of like what's happening right now. I feel like all these, they're trying to gloat these projects that are coming into fruition. But hey, like these are projects that are about 4 years too late. But you're deciding, like now it's the best time to push them out there. And it's kind of like to make them, like look great. And I don't blame them. I mean, as a politician, it's kind of your job to keep an image, even a narrative, if you may. And
What else is on your platform? You mentioned?
So traffic is a big one.
What about traffic?
Planning. Traffic Mines Road is terrible. The loop is terrible. McPherson is terrible. Delmar is terrible. Like, yeah, I could go on for all these sorts of areas, and it's, you know, trying to find how to alleviate all these areas.
How would you do that
without, you know, having to get too crazy into it? And I think an important thing is I've noticed throughout the city the way that the traffic lights are. You know, you get to from one traffic light to the other, and by the time one turns green and you get to the other one, you're stopping again. So a lot of that, like, you could do engineering work to see and configure how to find the best possible route for, you know, McPherson, for the loop. The loop specifically, I think it has to do in certain areas. Like, I feel in front of the airport, which I believe is a terrible location for that airport in particular, if you ever want to grow this city. But, you know, you have all the FedEx next to it. You have these industrial companies that have, you know, 18-wheelers trying to get in, trying to get out of traffic and causing more traffic. And a lot of this comes down way back when, like, to planning. Because who allowed this type of planning to, you know, if you knew that this was going to be the most important route of all Laredo besides I-35 that runs straight through Laredo, you know, how come you didn't plan better? And now we're in the issue that you're in, because Mines Road originally wasn't designed to be a residential area. It was supposed to be just industrial.
So what would be your plan to alleviate that?
You know, I try to work with at the Congress level, at the federal level, and the property owners, and be like, hey, you know, I want to meet you guys. I want to talk to you. I want to see what can be, like, hopefully be a diplomat, and can we work together and find a solution to, you know, whether it's you guys donating land or if the city purchases the land, you know, hopefully at a
to do what?
At a price that you can be accommodated to build more roads, to you know, overpasses if it's necessary to break for another lane in Mines, whatever it is that we can do. You know, all these approaches are all solutions, but some of them it's kind of like patching it, because Mines Road apparently, like, before I was even born, was only 2 lanes, and now I believe it's 3 lanes on both ends. And, like, later on it might be 4, but every time, you know, you're just patching up what is.
Yeah, I don't think the solution is more roads.
Yeah,
I think we need to aim a little bit higher. I think we need to work on making the city better for public transit. I don't think we need to put more cars on the road. And I think that's the main issue. So there's so many cars, and we're working on making it such an accessible place for cars, while we're not looking at the other, you know, facet of it, which is, you know, make places more bikeable. The only highlighted bike route that we have is the one that goes up and down the street downtown. I forgot what street it was, but it was a Victoria. I don't remember, but that's the only one that we've got that's got like a clear biking lane that's like painted that way. We don't have anything in terms of like any sort of transit system that, like, you know, would be able to.
Yeah, something I would want is for LC and TAMU to partner up with the City of Laredo to offer all students free, you know, public transportation.
Okay.
That's something that I had when I didn't have a vehicle when I was in Lubbock, and it was a great use for me. At any hour of the times that while they were operating, I was able to ride the system, the public system.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's maybe like a better route or alternative. Because if we're talking about, like, oh yeah, all these other people before us had, you know, they sucked at planning, and now we're just gonna work on fixing or patching that up instead of, like, addressing the root cause, which is too many cars and not enough of a.
Yeah, but it's. I don't think that's. I'll have to disagree there, because I don't think it's just too many cars. I mean, look at cities like San Antonio that have way more cars, but they have way better infrastructure.
And
all around,
they have terrible gridlocks. Have you ever been, like, around San Antonio, like around 5 p.m.?
I mean, the 1604 that runs around.
Oh, sure,
like,
yeah.
Like you're you know, that's planning. That's years in advance of planning.
Yeah, I mean, that's sure, but
and
that's
you
still
know,
neither
do
here
we
nor
have
there.
a solution of, like, there's people I'm sure in the city or whether it's Techstar, whoever it is, that have projections of how traffic is going to look 20 to 30 to 40 years from now, you know? And do we have a solution for that? No. Like, I can almost guarantee you there is no one planning here in the city of Laredo for that.
There's a whole like infographic, especially about working to make cities more bikeable or better with public transit. And the number one cause, the issue that they have is parking. They need something to accommodate all of these cars that, hey, if I go,
you should have had a parking garage by now.
If I drive my car and I go and I park somewhere, that's one person that goes there. Right. If in that same realm, I think there was like they showed an entire like full parking garage. All of that could be condensed down to 3 or 4 buses. Like, there's no reason why there would be, why that couldn't be like an alternative.
Or maybe like we don't really have the city structure to have like a trolley lane or something like that.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well, I mean, we used to.
Cool.
I think that was what we used to have like a long time ago. But yeah, no. Now we just have El Metro, and which shout out to El Metro because they do a fucking fantastic job.
I've never ridden it.
I've been in it a few times, and they're smelly, but it works.
I think the only bus system I used was like in Denver.
Denver?
Yeah.
Show off now?
No. I was just saying, like, I haven't ridden the bus too many fucking times.
Well, I mean, I do feel like there's, definitely things to disagree on, but I feel like working, if you're trying to address things like pollution, like traffic issues, and just general like space and infrastructure, like the leading cause of a lot of those issues are like cars, emissions, space, all of those things that they take up.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
We have too many car lots. No, I'm kidding. Shut them down.
I wish it could be like, hey, like you said, too many cars, but it's about making it accessible. At the end of the day, I feel like
accessible for who?
For everybody. I feel the public transportation is something that's highly underutilized here in Laredo. The bike lanes are not accessible. You don't have great bike routes anywhere throughout the city.
Trying to bike from Mines Road over, it's chaos, dude.
Yeah,
you imagine going from Mines Road to downtown?
Is that like, are there cities where that's feasible?
Yeah, dude.
In Europe?
No, maybe not in Europe, but like,
100% for sure, like
this.
Amsterdam.
Think about it like this.
Portland,
to go
bro,
from Mines Road,
they love their bikes there.
To the other side, you have to go above the bridge unless you're going to take Shiloh and everything. and you're right. Like, I hadn't actually taken that much serious thought into it, but no, you're absolutely right. That it would be hell to get one side of the city if you don't have a car.
Yeah, like I could... Like, our city is structured in such a way to where it's like you have to have a fucking car.
We have a park and ride. We have a park and ride, right?
I don't even know what that means.
So a park and ride means you can go and you can park your car somewhere, right? And then you can take the bus to whatever route that you need to go to. And that helps alleviate traffic. And if you're a biker, just bike that area, take your bike with you on your car. Get off, take the fucking bus, and that sounds ridiculous. I'm saying it now, but let's say you want to be downtown.
I want to drive my bike to the parking ride, take the bus, and then ride my bike. Right?
Dude, my point that I'm making, if people do it,
do you just want to ride your bike more?
I want to ride my bike.
Just go to North Central, bro. Just do laps, bro.
I want to ride my. It has several flat
tires. Looking 20 minutes too.
No, but yeah, no. For the people in those areas, like you can take your bike if you want, whatever.
You know what?
Right?
I just thought of? Does the metro system have a good bike system in the sense that because in Lubbock I used to ride my bike everywhere and put it in the
they have a thing.
You drive to the bus stop and then ride your
in front of the bus it would open down, you put your bike and it will stay there. But now that I think about it, here in the metro, I don't see anywhere that they have that, right?
They have bike racks on the front,
bike
dude.
Racks, yeah. I guess I see it so rarely.
They have, they have a few bike racks, and maybe now you'll notice them that I've pointed it out.
Yeah,
but they do.
I thought about it. I was like,
they've had them for a long ass time.
Yeah,
one time I rode my bike to the bus stop, and this is the true story. I rode. It's so dumb. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I want to hear this.
I'm just remembering. I had a yellow bike. It was my pride and joy. I was in middle school, and my favorite thing to do was I would ride my bike. I would take it to the bus stop. I would put it on the bus in the front. I would get in. I'd listen to my CD player. Right, it was a CD player back then, and I was listening to that. And I would ride over to the bus stop that was closest to my friend's house. Take the bike and then ride to my friend's house. Right.
Okay.
One time I got off the bus. I forgot my bike. I never saw that shit again. I lost my bike. I don't know where it went. I don't know if there was the route. Yeah, I don't know if they ever if there's like a claim system for that. Somebody
Go
else
to the bus station. Hey, has anyone turned in a yellow bike?
Y'all find a bike? Where's your lost and found?
Here's another thing that to deflect away from your fucking bike story.
Sorry.
And no,
okay.
it's a funny anecdote, a funny story.
Yeah, it sounds like you really like that bike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's cool.
But was it okay? So here's another thing that like maybe we can slide into your agenda, but let's work to make downtown more accessible to just like a bar hop. Is that
Yeah,
that kind of bolsters nightlife and hey, there's shit to do in Laredo, and like it could go hand in hand with like you paint the fuck out of all the buildings with like a badass art budget.
You know what you need to do? Abolish the historical system. The historical committee.
Yeah.
The historical committee. All I ever hear is how pissed people are downtown that they can't do what they want with their property whenever they feel like it. You have to abide by historic committee things or whatever.
Hey, history nerds.
I mean, there's huge investors out there, and it's about working with them, and it's about seeing how we can create. If they want to strip there, it has to be the entire strip. Like you can't have what we have right now.
Yeah, like a half-ass strip.
A half-ass strip.
Where it's like 3 bars, a block of nothing.
It's like one third. Yeah, exactly. It's terrible.
It's a closed down bar. A restaurant that always only lasts like 2 months. Yeah. What's it called? A club, another club, a bar, a club, and then there's like nothing.
Yeah, and then you have like one more out, like far in the far deep end. But yeah, no, like that's. I'm glad that you guys understand it. Like it's a clear issue that you can't have, a flourishing nightlife if you have it the way you have it set up.
Maybe get like a transit system in place downtown so that we can go from Cultura to like 8th Street or whatever. I don't know. Now I'm just being fucking facetious and very specific for no reason. But
I mean, there definitely needs to be bring the scooters back, man. We need the scooters. They're gone.
Aren't they
now.
like a big liability?
Nah, yeah, I think that's what it was. There's a liability, especially down here where none of the streets are scooterable. So it's.
I love how you use that. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, it's like you run the risk.
It starts with the streets.
It starts with like making it accessible. Because it's accessible to the cars, right? But you take a scooter down there and you run the risk of getting flattened by a city bus. No problem. Big bags though, dude. You can get a bag from that. You get hit by a truck, dude. You paid. You don't have to work ever again. But you also might not walk. So it's
if you had to, and just kind of like in closing here, if you had to encapsulate like what your candidacy and what your eventual position would be as a mayor, just give me like a couple of sentences, a phrase, just to encapsulate that. And look at this camera right here.
Encapsulate what I want to do, like as mayor.
Like what you would stand for. Okay. Just give me a phrase. Give me a. Okay. You can use a word. You can use a phrase. Anything.
Okay, so something that I want to be remembered for is being different out of everybody else. I want to stand out of all these other candidates and stand out from all these previous mayors, and say, you know what, he did something that no one's ever done before, and whether that's beautifying our parks, evolutionizing our city one way or another, bringing jobs into Laredo, furthering our education. There's a million things I could get into, but I want to be remembered for at least one of these things. And I'm Juan Garza. I humbly ask you guys to go out and vote. I really want to make a change for this city. And, I can't do that without you guys. So it's extremely important for you guys to go out and vote, because if we're going to progress Laredo into a better future, it has to be as a community. It can't be just me. And
There you guys have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Juan Manuel Garza. Thank you for coming on the podcast, by the way.